So Blindsight, they found this basically this self-evolving, self-replicating spaceship, right? That was like self-aware in this way
Yeah.
and demonstrated that it was hyper intelligent, but like didn't pass certain tests that they would test it for like consciousness or like sentience, like an ability to be self-aware. And it just and it what the evolutionary outcome of this species they determined was that consciousness is actually a superfluous use of like brain matter, right? And like to be like awareness of self is not a prerequisite for intelligence.
Yeah. I mean, how really do we think of consciousness? How would you define consciousness?
I think it's what I would say is it's an awareness of a self relative to the rest of society, like being able to refer to yourself as an I or as a me, right? And being able to look in your mirror and be like, I am a separate entity. Like what is inside of here is separate from the rest of the stuff outside, and like being able to kind of conceptualize that internally and differentiate yourself from the outside world in that way.
So an animal that can't do that isn't conscious, you think?
I don't know if
I mean, it is. It's like hard because eventually it feels like you're finding somewhere a line to draw in the sand somewhere, and it's like just far enough that we count. But then like you get a lot of animals that seem like they should count, but then maybe don't. And I think that like I've tried to think about what to me like how would I define consciousness, and it almost does feel like I wouldn't go as far to say. I mean, I definitely agree with you that the awareness of self, but I feel like you don't even have to go that far. I almost feel like it's awareness in general. Like a plant is aware of a lot of things, right? It's like aware of the nutrients that it's receiving. Plants can communicate with other plants. They can send nutrients through these like super complex mycorrhizal fungal network underground, and it's like so there's a lot of awareness there. It's conscious of things. Right, like a thermometer, in a sense, is conscious of the temperature. Right, like it responds to this change in the environment. Right. So the molecules are getting warmer. Now, would I say a thermometer is conscious? No, it seems like it's conscious, like in this one axis. But as you start to layer all these things to be conscious about, eventually you get to a point where you're like aware of yourself and your past and your future. And it just seems like we seem to be far on that. I don't think we could say that other animals haven't reached that, like orcas could be like reflective of their lives over time.
So by that definition, you might be able to argue that some of the, maybe not this generation, but like maybe a couple generations down the line, iterations of multimodal AI systems would be conscious because they have camera sensors and they can hear your voice input.
Yeah.
So they are aware.
Well, yeah, I mean, and this is like, I feel like I'm getting a little bit out of my wheelhouse with this, but I'm going to apply the philosophy that I just kind of constructed right there. And if you think about the dimensions, like the correlations that it can make, what's the word in the LLMs? I forget what it is. You could kind of consider a parameter as like an axis of awareness in a sense, right? There's like some correlation that it has latched onto, whether or not we understand it. Not sure if that really matters. And so once you become aware, I know I'm being like fast and loose with these terms, of this enormous number, the seemingly infinite number, trillions and trillions and trillions of different axes of like meaningful, at least to the algorithm, awareness. Like to me, that is like becoming more conscious. I know that doesn't really fit in with, I think, what we tend to think of as consciousness, right. But I also think that for me at least, that consciousness is more of a, like, how many things are you aware of?
Like the axes of awareness,
right?
Like how many axes of awareness are you in possession of?
Yeah.
Which, I mean, that almost reminds me of, we talked about this a little bit too, like these like brain organoids, right? Which like there's like some of them that are independently developing eyes, which some people don't realize they're actually like the eyes are the brain, like they're these like brain cell organoids are these stem cells harvested from, I believe, living adult brain tissue and then grown in petri dishes to try to solve like rudimentary computing problems, right? But these cells may be exhibit some degree of awareness, but for the most part, like that's like a line that people haven't like. The consensus there is that this is not like a conscious entity of cells, right? And to any degree that there's any ethical issue.
100%. That's interesting. I guess my thing would be that it's doing things. It's conscious on some level.